why is it important to prioritize connection? And what are the things that you and I do that have become ritual with respect to not just being in the relationship, but working on the relationship?
Well, I think so for us, I can say that what I've noticed is that because we're not always perfect, like let's just call a spade a spade. Like there are times where we forget, like we're so busy, like we've had for example, like the past, last quarter of last year, we were very, very busy. There was like a really big, like we had a huge turnover in the company. We were kind of changing things and like up-leveling many things on both your and my side of things. And so we were very busy. And so there were like a lot of weeks where we weren't actually going out and we're doing things. And what I notice is, and of course it always happens when we're like super stressed, so it like compounds it. But when we don't make that time for going out for dinner, I don't know why this happens, but I actually want it less, right? So I'm like, oh, we don't need to go out. Like, it's not important. Or, oh, we don't need to like connect. We don't need to have sex. Like those things are not important until we do go out or until we do connect. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so important. Like, it's almost like, and I think that I haven't confirmed this yet, but I've spoken to enough women where I think this is like a female thing where if we don't get something like, let's say sex or connection or date night or whatever, it's like we almost like turn off our need for it. Whereas I don't actually think that happens in men. Like men have like, a different hormonal composition, let's say, different needs, like want to be connecting all the time. So what I notice is when we don't do those things, when we don't prioritize, it's very easy for me to be like, oh, that's not really important. Like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on dinner. And like, I got to spend 45 minutes choosing an outfit and getting my makeup on. Like, why don't we just stay in and order in and I'll just stay in my pajamas and I'll wear my house slippers and, and I'll do my nails or something. Right. And it's like, well, no, let's not do that. Let's actually like go and have a proper dinner or go dancing or go watch a movie or whatever it is, or meet and connect with other people. And every time that we do that, I'm like, oh my God, why did I even get into that mindset of like, oh, I don't need this. Oh, this isn't important. I would even say the same is true for like sex. Like if there's been like kind of like a, like a little dry spell, it's like, you sort of think like, oh, like at least I think I'm like, oh, like it's not so important. I don't really like, and then you have it, you experience it and you're like, damn, like this is real important. That's really important. So I think that's why it's so important. It's kind of like use it or lose it, right? Like if you're not connecting, then you almost like lose the connection. And I think that being in a loving, connected, nurturing relationship requires work in the same way that if you want to build a body, right? You want to build muscle. It's like, you can't just like wish for it to happen. You have to get to work. You have to go to the gym and you have to lift heavy weights. And the same is true in a relationship. Like if you want a loving relationship, you have to work on it, and not only on it, but on yourself, because there's nothing like a relationship to bring out your childhood trauma. There's nothing like an intimate relationship, whether it's like a parent-child relationship, or, an intimate relationship. At least that's been my experience. So I can only talk about my experience, but I feel like there's been times where I've been so activated, let's say, and it's like, oh, okay, I have some work that I need to do here. Like I need to like really heal this story that I have that, you're going to get bored of me and you're going to leave me. And like that, like, that's my story. It's like, he's going to like wake up one day and be like, meh, she's all right. Like she's 45. I could probably trade her in for a 20 and a 25-year-old, It's like,
the following opinions expressed are not those of the interviewer. I totally understand.
Yeah.
I think
and it's like, you hear, you even like your parents, for example, they'll be like, like, oh, you're 70 now. Like, I'll just trade you in for two 35-year-olds. Right. And like, that's like, even though it's a joke, I'm like, oh my God, that's like my worst fear. Like, it's like actually my worst fear. So I think that you need, like, for me anyway, like there needs to be, and we've talked about this, like, kind of in our own, like intimately or whatever, but like love is a verb, right? It's like, it's an action item. It's not something that you're not just going to like fall into an amazing relationship that you never have to work on. It's like you have to work, and you have to work on, like, at least for me, I have to work on myself too.
The work, though, the input of the work has an amazing output. And it's like working out, where the more you do it, the more you don't have to, even though it's like you build momentum so that it becomes easier, and it's an investment. So I think there's a lot of misbeliefs that people have. For example, I'll give the first one we talked about. If women lift heavy, they'll be bulky. Another misconception, I think, is that, or maybe just a weird belief that's been taught through generations, is that the longer you're in a relationship, the more you become roommates.
Oh my God, I hate that one.
And I think that
I hate that one.
Bullshit, that it actually gets better. Sex gets better, but you have to prioritize it and even schedule it. And a mentor of mine said, whatever your priority is based on your calendar. So if you say something is important to you, but it's not on your calendar, then chances are it might not be. And I think people might assume or believe that scheduling date nights or scheduling even sex isn't sexy, but creating the container and the space for it to happen actually makes the sex better, because you can anticipate it and it's exciting. And same with any kind of experiences. It's like you and I love experiential dates, the kinds of things that you might buy a ticket to watch or participate in, because we love experiences. We love collecting memories. Yeah. One of a few weeks ago says something so profound about us in terms of what we value. And the phrase was, we love turning dreams into memories. Mm-hmm. And part of that is in collecting experiences. And I think it's the same with a relationship. And for anyone watching or listening, schedule it. Like block off the time for the things that have to be important, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your self-care, or recharging time, or free time, or non-work time, or play time. And that leads me to my next theme, which is play and pleasure and desire, which may feel like dirty or naughty words to people, but I don't think they are. And what is your definition of desire?
Can I just say, you're so well prepared for this interview. You're like, this leads me to my next topic. I'm like, wow, he's really.
Hey, I have to up level my interview skills if I'm interviewing the interview master.
I just want to say one thing about what you said before about love, and then we'll talk about pleasure. Like, one of the things that I hate, if there's something that, like, if there's like a trigger that I have, it's this idea of like sliding into mediocrity with like anything in life, like anything in life. I remember one of my mentors, I was actually just saying this the other day. One of my mentors said, the only way to cruise is downhill. And man, that just really stuck with me. And I think that that's so true, even like with relationships. Like, pardon my French, like Véronique might come out here right now to say that, like, fuck that. Like, fuck that. Like, we become roommates. Like, I want our love, like our finances, to like compound, right, over time. Like, think about it like the stock market. It's like, I want like an 8 to 10% return every year, so that over the course of like 40 years, you know, the amount that you started with and the amount that you end up with is like an exponential, like orders of magnitude more. Like, I love this idea of creating, and it takes work, not saying this like whatever, but again, this idea of like turning a dream of mine is to have, like, to create a legendary love, like a love for the ages, right? Where, our children will talk about how their parents, right, interacted with each other. And that's going to inform the way that they interact with their future wives. And then, like, I want that to kind of, I want that legendary love. Like, I want, and I'm willing to put in like the hard work to kind of work on myself and be able to, because part of like, I think a really big part of love and having love is to and having that legendary love is like minimizing residue, right? And minimizing this, like just stuff happens over time, right? Like you get into arguments, you get into a little tick here and a little tiff there, and like you don't talk about it. And then there's this like residue, this film on your love, let's say, on your union that kind of like grows, and then it becomes just like this biofilm, like on your, like it just becomes this like film on your love, and then you no longer, you like forget, like, and I've seen this so many, like there's so many like aunts and uncles and family members where we're like, God, like why are you together? Like you hate each other, where you can't even remember why you're with that individual. And it's like, there was a reason why you were attracted to them. Maybe it's like to heal some childhood wound, or like you would, whatever, but like there was a reason why you were attracted to this person. And I don't ever want to forget that. So, I just felt like kind of compelled to share that, because I feel very strongly that in all aspects of my life, like excellence is a core value. And I want to be really proud of our relationship. And that means oftentimes it's the conflict piece. Like, I'll also say this, and like, we're going to get an E on this for sure. Like on this podcast episode, it's going to be a little E for explicit, but like, ladies, listen to your body. Like when you see your man, let's say, like you should get wet. Like you should be like really excited, like to see him. Or, like I was looking at you, like when I went to the change room, and like, remember today when I like finished my bath, like we like split up, obviously went to the change room, like change, whatever. And then I saw you and I was like, oh my God, he's so fucking hot. Like it was like, I was like, oh, is it hot in here? Or is it just me? It's like, dear Lord, I just someone passed me a fan. Like I feel like, it's important to like really remember that, like physically, like what you are physically attracted to. And the other piece is like conflict, like the conflict piece, which I will admittedly say, maybe I'm not the best at yet, but you're very patient with me. So I really appreciate that.